So shout out to the hottest chat in the MF and game. A side official, no negotiation needed. Period. We're gonna get right down to it, man. This is a current event that is absolutely buzzing all over. I mean, this is one of the primary. I know he has a presidential elections is coming up, but as far as tragedies that happen when it includes civilians and the actions of law enforcement, they seem to absolutely um, activate a sense of awareness when it comes to media. And in this case, we're talking about Sonya Massey, a 36-year-old black female out of Sagamon. And, you know, the reason why she's making headlines is because her life was taken. She's no longer with us. She was unalived. And to a point where she she falls within the category of Breonna Taylor and Sandra Bland and many others that black women who have had their lives taken doing encounters with police officers, law enforcement. Okay. So what I want to attempt to do is go through a step-by-step process, not too long, because the Olympics is on, and I want to watch some of it today. But I just want to take you through my thought process, my reaction, as far as how and what I know from the outside looking in and what I think of the situation. You know what I'm saying? What we've experienced previously with incidents like this, that the unfortunate you call sometime, law enforcement to help you out, and it doesn't even remotely or closely come out in your favor due to many things. Due to many things. But in Sonya Massey's day, the last day she would be that she would take her last breath, it just goes to show you there is some insensitivity. There are certain individuals who are desensitized. This is what I wanted to say. There are certain individuals who are desensitized to sensitive situations. And you can get like that working on the force. You can get like that in the military. You can get like that in a lot of areas where your job is structured for intense situations. But that doesn't say that that's an excuse, or there's no sense of forgiveness when you fail to utilize other measures, you know what I'm saying, that could be life saving. We're not talking about life saving when it comes to saving someone's life while they're already in a predicament and, you know, in a life or death situation where they either need to stop the bleeding or you need to help them out with breathing. You need to protect the womb, or you need to just try to bring them back to life. Just a drastic situation. No, we're talking about saving lives based off proper assessment to what? The D word, de escalate. In this situation, to me, I don't think it was anything to de escalate, to be honest, because it's a lot of areas where she did not show, her being Sonya, she did not show enough aggressiveness to the point where this officer, Sean Grayson, on high alert. He's a male. It looks like he's over 6 feet tall, 245, 250. And he has all the tools that he's supposed to have to protect himself as a law enforcement officer. Now you have probably like 100 and, you know, 55, 60 pound woman in front of you that called, and she's concerned about a potential prowler that may be outside her resident. Now, where it goes from there is up to the professionalism and experience. You don't have to be on a force 15 to 20 years to know how to communicate with human beings. It's been something you've been doing your entire life. That's what I take it. It's no excuse. Like, you've been doing this your entire life. So if you know that you have a situation that doesn't require your peak alertness, then you communicate. You de-escalate. They teach you that. Whether you keep it close to your heart or not, hey, you communicate. Communication is key. In this case, there was communication, but not to save Brianna from the deadly force that was used against her. I'm not Brianna. Um, Sonya Massey, from the lethal force that was used against her. Now I want to take you through the first half. You know what I'm saying? You're looking at my thumbnail. That is Sean Grayson. He was charged with first-degree murder. That's the officer who actually, you know, um, executed the lethal shot of Sonya Massey. And that is her to the left in Happier Times. And also the documentation that's behind this picture, I'm going to also let you see, because it shows you how in some cases there are not one, two, three, there are many who dropped the ball in allowing this individual to freaking join their force. And if you, sometimes you want to go off the who you know type of deal, you get conclusions like this. You absolutely get conclusions like this. Seriously, you get conclusions like this, man. So let's go to the first part that I want to talk about. Let's take a look at this video, okay? Let's take a look at the video to assess the first half of this.
You called us.
Okay.
So what'd you hear?
Somebody keeps outside my house.
First of all, I want to assume, I want to play, I want to say to myself, okay, I don't know, you know, what had transpired before the body cams came on, because obviously you didn't see her open the door. You know what I'm saying? You didn't see her open the door. You didn't see the anticipation for her to present herself in front of the cameras as Sonya Massey. You just see the beginning. So I don't know what words were exchanged before then, because his response was very, you know, strict. You know, the way he responded to it, you called us, what's going on? It seems like you would get that type of response based off previous calls to the same resident or individuals that you dealt with in the past that wasn't so nice, that they're used to causing trouble. You know, that's what I got from it.
Illinois State Police released body cam footage showing the final moments of Sonya Massey's life, the Springfield area woman who was fatally shot by one of the responding deputies to a 911 call she made. Massey called 911 because she thought an intruder was in her home, according to the lawyer representing her family.
We checked your yard. We walked around the whole block. We didn't see anybody.
Sangamon County Sheriff's Deputy Sean Grayson and another deputy responded to the call around 12:50 a.m., authorities said.
So let's set the scene here. She doesn't have an oversized home. It's right there, compact. And the reason why I'm making note of this is that the visible radius to the left and right of the officer's flank and in front of him to be able to assess the entire area is there. It's there. You don't need opticals for this. It is there. Very small, compact living area. She's sitting down there on the sofa. She called them, and it pretty much, you know, you don't walk in like you do some people's home and they have weapons up against the wall all over the place, or, you know, knives or whatever the scene may present that cause you to say, okay, we need to make sure we keep a strict eye, an eagle's eye on this particular individual. That's not the case here. She seems to be calm. She's sitting there. They have the counter that is a sectioning off, separating. It's like a partition between the living space she's in right there and the kitchen, for which she will later lose her life. Let's keep it moving.
The deputies searched the property and found no intruder. The deputies then asked Massey to check on a pot of boiling water on the stove.
Check on her.
So now we get a view, finally, of the kitchen. It's not an oversized kitchen, but let's just say a low level of clutter on the counter, which is natural. You know what I'm saying? Low level of clutter on the counter. This is the body cam now. If you're looking, you still don't see any weapons. I don't know what's on the counter. I can't tell you if there's any freaking sharp knives over there, but most of the time in the kitchen it is knives accessible. So he felt, Sean Grayson felt that it was a non-threat, a minimal threat to tear her because he has assessed the area already. So he noticed there's a pot of hot water on the stove. So he assessed the area to recommend that she go check on that pot of water, remove that pot of water that was on the stove. He recommended it. Now, most of the time when you're in a situation, you know what I'm saying? I'm speaking from my assessment. You would not send a person that has called you for a potential prowler or that you're inside their home assessing over into an area, even though they're not showing you any signs. You wouldn't send them in an area where there's potential items that can be used as weapons because you're still trying to feel the person out. You're still trying to see, what's going on here. And you also have to factor in the mental health possibilities. She's in there solo. Where's everybody else? She don't have kids that's old enough that's walking around that may be a potential threat, that they have to corral everybody to a centralized location just to minimize any potential surprises. Okay? So this is the kitchen, y'all. This is the last moments where Sonya Massey would go through an unfortunate sequence of events, which didn't have to happen, but it did. And due to the distorted communication, we're talking about distorted communications based off words, not actions. Not look, based off words, not actions. And those actions didn't consist of having any type of weapons in her presence or whatever the case may be that would have forced a conclusion the way it happened with her.
We don't need a fire while we're here.
Right.
He said, we don't need a fire. Right? So I'm going to be honest. They say we don't need a fire. You know what I'm saying? That's showing concern, right? We don't need a fire. Right? We don't need a fire. So you recommend she removes the pot off the stove because we don't need a fire. And it seems like she's working with gas. You know what I'm saying? It seems like that's a gas stove. So she's removing the pot. That's what she went over there. Just take a look. When you look at people, especially if you don't have any connection to them except based off race, you know what I'm saying? Or based off just connection of a story. You say to yourself, man, she's living right here. Up to this point, she gives me no indication that she's a threat. None. She gives me no indication at all that she's a threat, y'all. She gives me no indication at all. Zero. Pay attention. That's what I grew up watching. Mother, grandmother, they always have these pots that are hot to the touch, even on the handles back then. So I don't know if that's what she had, y'all. But I'm saying you see her reach down and grab a mitt. Now, if you look down to her, to right there, that's on the counter, that's hanging off the drawer, right? That is another mitt. That is common. That's what I grew up watching. You grab a mitt because most of the time you boiling water, the handles are hot to the touch. Let's see if she grabbed this other mitt.
Where you going?
Huh?
Where you going?
Away from your hot steaming water.
Away from my hot steaming water?
Yeah.
Oh, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus.
So right here is where it all goes wrong. The officer does something that, in my opinion, is showing, okay, they sent her into the kitchen to remove the hot boiling water off the stove. But yet they was paying attention. And look, I'm not gonna lie to you, I would have did the same thing. Because I'm called to the home of this individual and I really don't know who they are. Let's just say it was a male. Let's just say it was a big size male or a small size or whatever the case. I don't know. But it doesn't matter the size of the human when it comes to something that's a scenario based with hot water off the stove. I had an auntie who changed her whole life as a child by pulling hot water off the stove. It messed her up. She pulled it off over her head and she was never the same. She wasn't mentally retarded, but the water scolded her so bad that she really couldn't take care of herself or something like that. But I really never knew her that well. I just was making an example. I In this particular case, right, she kind of asked why you're moving away, and I'll say, you have handling some hot water. That was a smart thing to do, right? That was a smart thing to do. But then, Sonya said, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. I don't know where that came from. Now you have to factor in mental health. Now the communication escalates immediately because the word rebuke, is it something that has been on record as summoning the demons? When somebody say I rebuke you, have anybody been in church when the pastor is preaching and giving a sermon and they say I rebuke you in the name of Jesus? Have anybody jumped up and rushed the pulpit, the podium, and attempted to basically take down the pastor and restrain him or take his life, put him in a chokehold? She said, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. What did that mean exactly? What was she talking about? Is that something that she practices? What was she feeling? But regardless of what she was feeling, all she said is, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus, right? Now, the angle is pretty distorted in my opinion. It's a bit cloudy when she said that, because if you're looking at where I stopped the video, you don't see her. So you don't know what her whereabouts. Now at this point in time, like if I'm guessing, right? Let's just say we didn't have other footage. I would say, okay, what if she took the boil off the stove and started running towards the officer? Hot water is going to do some damage, real talk. So if somebody walked away because of the hot water, it should be a natural instinct. Let's keep it moving.
I rebuke you in the name of
You better not. I swear to God, I'll you straight your face.
Okay.
So let's go through this process because we are blinded by having a full angle. Like I said before, I'm guessing on the height of these officers, they look pretty tall to me. That particular officer drew from his right holster, so he's in the ready. Believe me, there's a round in the chamber. It ain't no low no round, it's a round in the chamber. So that weapon is hot right now. So let's go back and go through the whole process without pausing it, okay?
You in the name
You
of
better not. I swear to God, I'll you straight your face. Yeah.
Oh, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus.
I
I rebuke you in the name
You
of
better not. I swear to God, I'll you straight your
So this obviously, right, it's hard to tell if she has a freaking pot in her hand and telling me, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. She said it twice. I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. At this point, okay, you have to make a decision as, a person that's holding down a position to protect and serve, right? We just can't smooth over that like it don't matter. That's your position. Your position is protect and serve. Hey, shout out to IOTBA in the building. Salute to you, brother. So we and shout out to everybody else that's in the building. So right at that position right here, your action is to protect and serve. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to assess the threat to protect and serve. So even though she said, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus" twice, okay, her points, her stance over there, she's not even in front of the stove, y'all. She's holding the pot of water. I mean, it's resting on the counter. All she said was, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. I rebuke you in the name of Jesus." So those two officers understand what rebuke mean, okay? But who is she talking about? Is she talking about the devil? Is she going through a mental health, um, episode? Is she talking to the officers? We don't know. But she said, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus." I mean, a human being can say, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus," and nothing happened. They may be religious. They may feel some type of way about law enforcement. They may not like white law enforcement. You know what I'm saying? They may not like black law enforcement, whoever. But she said it twice. So this is where it gets, a bit unprofessional, all the way unprofessional. When the officer said, "You do it, I'll shoot you in the effing face." Okay, I'm gonna be real with you. Like, the language that you use in a situation such as this can trigger a more aggressive reaction than you think. If officers start to talk to you and you're grown as adult, and they say things like, "Okay, she said, 'I rebuke you in the name of Jesus,' and then they draw their weapons and start talking about, 'I shoot you in your effing face.'" Now I have to say, okay, let's press pause for a second and try to locate where your non-lethal is at. It's two of you. It's two of you. Two. You're trying to tell me you have two holsters. You have two carry belts. You have two waist belts of weapons. Pepper spray, non-lethal, taser, baton, cuffs. You have two. It looked like strong enough to handle this one lady, because she haven't presented a weapon yet, has she? All they asked her to do is take the water off the stove. They sent her into an area to touch something that was outside the normal room temperature. Can hot water be used as a weapon? Absolutely. Did she make any aggressive advances towards them in this video? No, not from what I see.
Face.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Drop the pot. And drop the pot.
In the name of Jesus.
Okay, right now, they say, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus" twice. And you see her say, "I'm sorry," and she lets go. Now, what you probably didn't see is that you remember the red mitten, the mitt that I said that was hanging off the front side of the counter? It seems like she had that on her hand. So that tells me she had both her hands with mitts on them. The officers have a clear line of sight to see if she had a weapon on her. At that time, she had a mitt on the left, a mitt on the right. Different colors. One was looked like it was white, and the other one was red. You know what I'm saying? Significant detail to basically separate it from being a weapon. Okay? And of course, if you're talking about the pot of water, what do we have? The pot of water would be right there in her hands, and you would be able to see the mitts on the left and right side, and you'll be able to assess the situation and say, "Okay, that's what I got right now." You'll be able to either de-escalate and say, "Okay, we're good." With both her hands with the mitt, she's holding the pot. But then we have to look at it like, what's in the pot? Hot boiling water. Can you project hot boiling water? Yes, you can. Do we have the total breakdown of the radius for which she's lifting in the gym, or even she even go to the gym? Do we know what her strength is with throwing a pot of water at officers? Do we even know? Because it's just a lot of us that's listening in, right? When you put boiling water on there, what happens? When the water starts to boil, it evaporates. We don't know the quantity of water in the pot. I'm just being honest. We don't know the quality that's in there. We don't know how long with her sitting over there with the officers that the quantity of water that she had in there previously to the quantity that she had when she finally picked up the pot and said, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus." They don't even know that. You know why? Because they didn't take a look over there. One could have walked over there and looked at the pot of water and said, "Hey, you need to take this out because there's barely any water in here. We don't want you burning down the house." You're not going to burn down the house if it's a good quantity of volume of water in the pot. So they're talking with her in the living room while this is going on. They know, they identify there's a pot of water over there. So they recommend to her, "Hey, I suggest you go over here and remove that pot of water off so you won't burn down the house."
You in the name
You better God, I swear to God, I'll you straight in your face.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Drop the pot! Drop the pot! I'm gonna go get my.
So here's a different angle. Here's a different angle. You see that red mitt comes up. You see the red mitt come up. She said, I'm sorry. And she squats down. So we're gonna know, we're gonna know this straight from A to Z. We're gonna know this to be true without even going through any type of law enforcement training, y'all. We're about to educate ourselves clearly on what our eyes are telling us when it comes to assessing the threat. Okay. You saw both her eyes go up near her head. So what does that tell all of us in here? That she don't have a pot of hot boiling water in her hand. First, second, third, fifth, 20, 100,000. She don't have anything in her hand. Why? Because if she would have tried to put her hands up and say, I'm sorry, with a pot of water in her hand, what would have happened? The water would have been doused over her and it would have been a whole nother situation called 911. The 911 call would have been like, "Hey, we have a person that mistakenly panicked and she tossed some water on her head that came off the stove out of panic when we drew our weapons." Right? That's what we think. That's what we would have liked to happen because potentially she would have survived that. But she put her hands up by her head and she didn't have a pot in her hands. No pot, just mitts. So what was the threat? What was the threat at that time? Two grown male officers. TPI. Y'all know what TPI mean? Two-person integrity, bro. Two grown men. Weapons drawn. The video shows she threw her hand up by her head and said, I'm sorry. Quick, I'm sorry. We didn't see the pot. Well, she threw her hands up and the water went over her head and she started screaming because that's one of the natural reactions, especially if something get doused on your body that's been on the stove and the degrees Celsius much hotter than room temperature. Let's keep it moving.
Okay. No, your headshot, dude. She's done. You can go get it, but that's a headshot.
So at this point in time, they've already shot her. The reason why he says forget it, he's done, because his partner or his right hand suggested to go get a medical kit. And Sean Grayson said, no, she's done. That's a headshot. Now, from this point on is everybody's nightmare. I just have to. It's every human being's nightmare when you have a family member that's in this situation, especially when it comes to a family member that, supposedly have mental problems. And the fact that she utilized the 911 system for help. And with that help, you have someone that is an able body to go in there with another law enforcement as a two-person integrity to help them supposedly de-escalate the situation or come to a common denominator that is no viable threat around the premises. But what happened is they created a threat internal to the premises with someone who didn't have a weapon, but supposedly was holding an object with liquid in it that could be potentially used as a weapon.
God damn it. God. Dude, I'm not taking boiling water to the head. Hey, look.
So now he tries to know that he has the body cam on, y'all. Now he has the body cam on. Now he wants to start gathering evidence as to validate his reasoning for shooting this woman in the head. I'm not taking some boiling water. Now, once again, none of us on here, none of us, even me. I've had the pleasure of shooting some high-end weapons in the military. I'm talking about warfare weapons. And I'm going to tell you, she did not have any of them from which I've seen on the premises. I didn't see Humvees. I didn't see tripods, bipods. I didn't see any of that. I just heard them recommend that she take that pot off the stove, and she did it. Now, the strange part about the videos has been circulating around. You see the red mitt? I could have sworn she had a red mitt on her hand. But when you look at this video right here, the red mitt is still hanging on the cabinet. But I know what I seen. Something was on both of her hands. You understand? I'm going to get to another video, but I want to play the rest of this out. Because he tries to basically verbally layer his post shooting incident with evidence via body cam to validate and justify his actions, his lethal actions. It wasn't a taser. It wasn't pepper spray. It wasn't baton. He's not taking hot water, y'all. Hot freaking water, which depending on the strength of the human being and the quantity of water. What? What are we talking about?
It came right to our feet, too.
Grayson has been indicted on 3 counts of first-degree murder and a count each of aggravated battery with a firearm and official.
Let's just take a look at this guy. Looks like a pretty big guy. I'm not here to judge any tattoos. He has the skulls on his forearm. I'm not gonna, go off what he looks like to me. I mean, that would be prejudice, discrimination. I would be profiling him as being somebody that he may not be. But based off the words that he used towards, Sonya Massey, this guy has a different type of personality. This dude's ego is different. When somebody say, "I shoot you in your effing face," and they the one called you for help, that's no respect there at all. This is no respect. This is no respect. And somebody in Springfield, Illinois, hired this guy to come work for them. Now, this is something else I want to show you. Okay, let me let you take a look at this video right here. All right. This is why I say you have to do your due diligence on this, and because people in their videos and everything.
She grabs the silver pot with red and white cooking mittens. The pot. Her hands are in the air.
So she, in my opinion, had more than one red mitten. You see in there she had a red and white mitten, and when she clearly puts her hand up by her head, the same pot of scorching, bubbling, boiling hot water. I guess she didn't have the equal amount of fear of the boiling water, being that every human knows if it's hot to touch and you boiling something, it's going to be some consequences that you get burned and you're going to blister up and everything. But she threw both of her hands up by her head. There was no pot in her hands at all. at all.
She grabs the silver pot with red and white cooking mittens. The pot. Her hands are in the air. She grabs the silver pot with red and white cooking mittens.
Now you see the other red mitten that she did have in her hand. So she had more than one mitten. So you see how I said earlier how the red mitten is hanging on the front side of the drawer. She had more than one red mitten. You can clearly see she had a red and white mitten on her hands when she threw her hands up.
She grabs the silver pot with red and white cooking mittens. The pot. Her hands are in the air.
So it seems like to me that the pot was black. Unfortunately, the black pot and the black woman might have basically escalated it without that black woman even knowing. I don't know. But clearly you see what? You see what? You see that she removed her hands from the pot and dropped to her knees and said, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Right then and there, where's the threat? Where's the actual threat that's going to say that those a pair of 200+ pound law enforcement officer who has been trained, how can they not disarm? How can not one of them say, you know what? We don't need that just goes to show you, like, when it comes to training or the mentality of who's around you, you have to be a leader yourself. You have to be a leader to the point where, hey, put your gun away. It's not even like that. It's not even like that. You know what I'm saying? I would think I'm still good, even if she did charge with a freaking boil of water. For real. It's way more, you know, if you're trained correctly, it's way more non-lethal actions you can take to disarm a person with a pot of water. And when have we ever known the pot of water to become the matrix? It's not like you throw that pot of water in the air and then it comes back down like you're in a matrix and the numbers all over the place. And higher the number, the more you're going to get burnt. Oh, we have 215 degrees Celsius over here. Oh, I barely missed that. That's not the way it works. Water doesn't have, when it's projected. I'm not even going to get into it. All I'm saying is, it seemed like she dropped to her knees and put her hand up and said, I'm sorry. And she was shot. Headshot. You know, it's no recovery. Headshot. Done. Gone. You know what I'm saying? So let's get to some of these non-lethals. Did they have some of these non-lethals? Forget the dragon. But what about the taser? What about the pepper spray? What about those? What about the taser and the pepper spray? What about the non-lethal baton? It wasn't a baton? What about the baton? Where was the non-lethal baton? We're talking about a woman who may have weighed 145, 150. You couldn't have found a weapon in your carry? Taser? Baton? Pepper spray? Now, pepper spray is different from the water in the pot because it's projected. You know what I'm saying? You push the button, it's projected differently. And it's much more thin, a thinner substance. You know what I'm saying? Than water. So it's going to travel more. Plus you're dealing with different type of toxins, gas, and how it's sprayed out into the areas. And you spray pepper gas, a pepper spray. It's going to cover a different area to your senses and your eyes. As in boiling water, all you do is you was to throw boiling water. You got to say, okay, yeah, boom, it's going to, go out as far as the strength is of the other, the person that's throwing it, and it's going to drop to the ground. That's it. But this guy said, I wasn't going to take no boiling water to the head. Bro, you still have about a 20 foot, the 20 to 25 foot clearance, and she had decided to aggress. She haven't showed no signs that she was even going to run your way. Real talk. Anyway, let's keep it moving. Let me get back to why was it first? Okay, so I just wanted to show you that they said this is via CNN.com. They said the law enforcement visit to Sonya Massey's home in Springfield, Illinois, earlier this month began with a calm conversation. Okay, we actually witnessed that between a 36-year-old black woman and two white sheriff's deputies at her front door in her living room. Now, one thing to note, these wasn't regular law enforcement, they were sheriff deputies. That means they have been in these situations before, and each and every time they should have gained more and more experience on how to de-escalate. Check this out right here. They asked how she was doing mentally and if she needed help. She said, "I love y'all," and rifled through her belongings to find her ID. They asked her how she was doing mentally and if she needed help. She said, "I love y'all," and rifled through her belongings. Well, I guess the love wasn't receptive because regardless of what she said then wasn't enough to prevent them from squeezing off several rounds and one taking her life and hitting her in the head. It's saying then in a space of about 45 seconds, the deputies took a series of actions that left Massey lying in a pool of blood on her kitchen floor and led to murder charges against one of the deputies, Sean Grayson. With help, it gets really bad, y'all. On top of the fact that someone has just lost a relative. We're not going through who relative, was she a mom, a sister, a daughter, all that. It gets very, very bad based off the post actions that occurred concerning this incident. It says, with help from law enforcement analysts and a 36-minute of body cam footage released Monday, CNN took a closer look at what deputies did and what they could have done differently. The analysts, as well as the Illinois prosecutor and the sheriff, found Grayson took several steps to escalate. Once again, the analysts, as well as the Illinois prosecutor and the sheriff, found Grayson took several steps to escalate the situation rather than lower the temperature and reassess Massey's need. That is true words spoken. He took steps to escalate, provocate. It says the body worn camera footage has now been released and the public can see what we saw. Sonya Massey lost her life due to an unjustified and reckless decision by former Deputy Sean Grayson. Sangamon County Sheriff Jack Campbell said in a statement Monday. Grayson had other options. Grayson has other options. He had other options available that he should have used. His actions was inexcusable and do not reflect the values or training of our office. Speaking of training of the office, y'all. Who's this guy? Jack Campbell, huh? Let's go to a bookmark. Let's fold this page for a minute, okay? And shout out to everyone that's in the building. Hit the like button. It's Wednesday. Let me show you something about Mr. Jack Campbell. Mr. Jack Campbell. He said his actions were inexcusable and do not reflect the values or training of our office. So I will have to just ask you this, Mr. Campbell. When it came down to processing when it came down to processing Sean Grayson for hire in Sangamon County, did you know that he had already been with several other agencies from 2020? 6 other agencies? Did you get the paperwork on this sheriff that was wearing and donning and wearing and donning and swore in the oath to protect and wear the badge representing Sangamon County? Did you ask yourself when you looked at the paperwork, you saying it's inexcusable? But also something that's inexcusable is the fact that he has paperwork of several prior agencies where he stopped working, reassign, reassign, reassign. How? Dating all the way back to 2020. Yes, we're approaching 4-year time span for Sean Grayson, a 4-year time span, and he has relocated, reassigned from several agencies. If that's not a red flag dipped in Sonya Massey's blood for your ass, I don't know what it is. Because how can someone have that many flagpoles and you're up there looking up at him? Well, that's a lot. That's a lot right there. I'm not alarmed though. He seems to be in good health. And he knows Johnny, Jack, and Jeff. Let's go ahead and hire him on. I don't see any goddamn problem. This man had been with several other agencies. And he lands on Sangamon with this paperwork from previous reassignment, leaving, and all this other stuff. And finally executes the death warrant. Finally, he gets the opportunity to do something that internally to him, it's been going on for a long time. That's who he is. He might have been wanting that moment. You know what I'm saying? He might have been wanting that moment. He finally got that moment, y'all. He finally got the moment. What I tell you, he finally got the moment. He wanted to be that guy. For real. You can tell by his ego, he wanted to be that guy. Seriously. He wanted to be that guy. The way he was talking, he wanted to be this reckless, you know what I'm saying, Rambo type dude. You know, back in the day, they used to call them Rambos. You know what I'm saying? People who just didn't have no sense of freaking decorum when it came to teamwork. He wanted to be a Rambo. Let's keep it moving. But we need to talk to Jack Campbell about that now. We need to speak to you, Jack Campbell, because you knew this guy had a checkered history. But yet he was working under you. You knew when he came in. It goes on to say Grayson, 30, was indicted by a grand jury last week on 3 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count each of aggravated battery with a firearm and official misconduct. He has entered a not guilty plea and was not a potential pretrial release, according to our court records. It goes on to say, while some policing experts may be hesitant to criticize analysts, the actions of police officers after the fact, the Police Executive Research Forum. Oh, anyway, I'm letting that ride. If at any point the situation starts to go in a different direction, then you have to have a plan B, he said. These officers did not have a plan B except pulling out their firearms and barking orders. That's simply an archaic practice. Yes, talk to us. That is archaic, barbaric, just to draw out the most lethal weapon that you have, knowing that Jack Campbell said you have learned, you have been taught. That's what Jack Campbell said. You have been taught other OPTIONS options. You have been taught options, but yet you decide to go with the default, the most lethal. We teach officers that if you slow things down and communicate using time and distance, you can resolve these situations so everybody can go home safely. Well, guess what, y'all? At one point in time, they used time and distance. Well, at least distance. He turned around and created more space between him and her, Sonya. Because he said, I don't want to get scorched by no hot water. Okay. You show that you're capable of processing. Your cognitive thought, you're capable of knowing hot to cold, right? Okay. All right. Let's go on. Failing to recognize mental health issues. Okay. It says right here, Deputy Sean Grayson left in this picture, right? You see him? Spoke calmly with Sonya Massey in her home just a minute before fatally shooting her, video shows. It says from the start of their interaction, there are a number of clues suggesting Massey may be experiencing a mental health issue. She has trouble understanding and answering their basic questions. And when they ask if she's doing all right mentally, she says, yes, I took my medicine. Mm, mm, mm. Mm, mm, mm. According to the body cam footage, let me remediate that one more again. She has trouble understanding and answering their basic questions. And when they ask if she's doing all right mentally, she says, yes, I took my medicine. Now, I want you to basically archive mentally in medicine. Just keep it close to you because it's going to come back up. All right? Because look, that's part of the assessment, right? That's part of the options, right? If this happened in the living room, then shouldn't it carry forward over there on how they assess the situation in the kitchen? Sure it could have. Yes, they say she took her medicine. So when she said, rebuke you in the name of Jesus, why didn't the mental health automatically come up before you drew your weapon and say, you do that, I'll shoot you in your fucking face? What happened to the medicine? What happened to the mental? If she's doing all right mentally, she says, yes, I took my medicine. That doesn't exclude her from being competent enough to carry on with the entire sequence of events. That doesn't relieve her. It goes on to say the house appears messy in the video, with clothes strewn across the bedroom and the kitchen counter covered in items. Okay? It says what the experts say. A key component of an officer's interaction with the public is assessing whether they are dealing with someone who could be experiencing a mental health crisis, said Josh Campbell, CNN security correspondent and former federal agents. Good assessment. Good assessment. I'm not here to go all and break that down. We understand that, yes, she said she took her medicine. She's doing fine. She took her medicine, right? I said there's a list of questions that you don't have to be. There have to be a mental. Okay, there are a list of questions that you don't have to be a mental health profession to ask, Miller added, such as, do you have family looking after you? Are you receiving services from the county? Do you have a social worker, man? It goes on to say there's a gap in policing training for how to deal with people in crisis, de-escalate, and use non-lethal tools when situations start to spiral, he said. And that is absolutely something that we've seen play out over several incidents where individuals were in a heightened state. They were in a heightened state, upbeat, erratic, They was going through a mental health situation, but they ended up losing their life though. Because sometimes when you have individuals that's on the edge, they can be dangerous. Let's not forget about that. They can be dangerous now. And depending on who's behind that weapon, they may feel at that point in time this is something they never trained for, they never wanted to be a part of. And if that person was to come towards them and attack them, the only way they can survive is that they shoot them. That's them not having confidence in who they are. They'll shoot them because they're scared for their life, even though they have all the training supposedly. Check this out. Allowing her to get a pot of boiling water, y'all. Didn't we talk about that early in the video? What happened when the deputies are inside the home speaking with Massey? They notice a pot of boiling water on a lit stove. Massey gets up and moves to the kitchen and turns off the heat and take the pot off the stove. Okay? We don't need a fire while we were here, one deputy says. Neither officer has an issue with her going over to get the pot, the video shows. What the experts say about this, y'all. Again, this appears a missed opportunity that could have ensured a much different ending, Campbell said. If time allows, officers are trained to observe totality of situation and to assess multiple possible outcomes for any public interaction. Allowing someone potentially in crisis near a dangerous object is a recipe for a negative outcome. Talk to them, experts. Educate them. Miller noted this moment as an issue of controlling the subject and scene. Once again, Miller noted this moment as an issue of controlling the subject and the scene. They allowed her to walk over to a pot of boiling water, he said. If they believed she constituted some kind of threat, they could have called her over to them. And one of the officers, what did I say? What did I say? The officer could have went over there already in the kitchen. They could have cut off. They could have did whatever. They could have went over there while the other officers, they came TPI, 2 officer integrity. One could have stayed on her and the other one could have went over there. I mean, come on. I knew you grew up around pots. I don't think the pot without the black woman would have been a threat to you if you would have went over there and cut the stove off and gently grabbed the mitt and slid that pot off the stove. Come on, bro. They allow her to walk over to a pot of boiling water, he said. If they believed she constituted some kind of threat, they could have called her over to them, and one of the officers could have walked over, turned off the stove, and poured the water out. I think this statement right here, even though it's only about 3 lines to this para, it is one of the most important pieces of information out of this entire article. Because if that situation would have happened right as they're speaking on it, she would have been alive, period. It's not so much the quantity of content or criteria that they put in this one little mention. They put in this mention. It's what's internal to the entire situation that caused her to lose her life. If the officer would have pushed the pot off the stove and turned off the fire, it would have been good to go. They never would have had to basically interact with the kitchen. They could have just continue their engagement in the living room area. The living room area did not have a stove or anything noticeable to alarm those 2 officers weighing 230 plus pounds with weapons, full-blown weapons on them. Yes, this is very, very essentially because, not everybody handled threat language the same, because you're talking about different age groups. Maybe someone that is younger may handle in a surrendering type manner so easy. If you say, get on the effing ground, do this, do that. Whereas an adult, you talk to them and they say, well, who are you talking to, first of all? Where's this coming from? Why are you approaching me like that? What is the energy for? It says right here, former. They call him former now. former Sagamon County Deputy Sean Grayson pointing his firearm at Sonya Massey and threatened to shoot her. Body cam footage shows. What happened? When she grabbed a pot of boiling water, one deputy steps back away from your hot, steaming water, he says. Okay. He knows how to what? Options. Create distance. He's alarmed. He's guessing how hot the water is based off where it just came from. She say, Sonya Massey, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus, she said in response. Huh? The deputy says. He say, huh? I rebuke you in the name of Jesus, she repeats. You better fucking not, or I swear to God, I'll fucking shoot you in your effing face, Grayson said to her. So pretty much, I want to let everybody know that just because you didn't use obscenities, still your words can be extremely exacerbated to a higher level based off the intentions for which you said them. So if she's saying I rebuke you in the name of Jesus, nobody really don't know what that is. They seen it in movies when people grab someone, I rebuke you, and they flicking their fingers, I rebuke you, I rebuke you. They don't really know. If it was so easy for us to just, first of all, if she was gonna, put some water and all that other stuff, like he's acting like he was tortured with hot water back in the day. He grew up around religious parents, and they used to goddamn boil some water and take a dropper and basically draw some of that water out of the pan and squirt it on his head and say, I rebuke you. You're bad. You're a bad kid. That's not the case. But he say, I'll shoot you in your effing face. Now, we know the entire physical anatomy for most consists of a head to feet. Depending on who you talk for, you can assess the size of the threat. I'm talking about the threat of the person that believes that they're in grave danger based off a pot of water. We're talking about, in this case, it was a female, a woman, not a 299.5 pound, muscled up, known to law enforcement to be an absolute physical specimen of a threat. Let's keep it moving. He say what the experts say. I love to hear what the expert says, y'all. The IACP researchers have noted a low tone of voice may be preferable when dealing with someone in mental distress, and that making threats may create additional fight, stress, and potential aggression, Campbell said. While an officer is certainly well within their rights to use whatever volume of voice they believe is required to obtain compliance from a subject, law enforcement experts here again draw a distinction for someone in mental crisis, he said. Miller Assembly said calmer dialogue could have been used. You think? You think? Somebody said, I'm going to shoot you in your effing face. Then blinders go up, especially if they have told you earlier that they took their medicine. They have acknowledged that, yes, I have something else going on that I have to deal with on a daily basis. So you're not talking to an average person. Seriously. So I agree with the experts. Okay, drawing the firearm. This essentially where it becomes an entirely different point of action. Very dangerous. You know what I'm saying? When you have two, once again, two, not one, two able-bodied sheriffs, deputy sheriffs, who have lethal force. They have identified to have lethal force. Why? Because that is their daily carry. They're taking this amount of action against a black woman, Sonya Massey, who said, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus, while next to a pot of boiling water. So I must ask this question. What's going to reach the target first? hot water or a bullet. And when that hot water drops and touches the skin of subject target, will it cause blisters or will blood start to immediately at that point of location start to bleed out profusely? Which one? Would they would have happened to go to the car and get medical? Possibly if the hot water hit. Yeah. Go ahead and get it. But I guarantee you that particular suspect or that particular subnamed individual would still be talking to you, engaging in conversation. Whereas when you have Sean Grayson says there's no need to get a medical kit, she's out, she's done. That's a headshot. Like Rambo-ish, like Rambo, full blown. You know what I'm saying? I love the trailer. Oh my God, I always wanted this moment. You want to call 911? No need to call in. No, she's done. I'm gonna go get my no need to get no medical kit. No need to get that. I'm just gonna call and no. Hold up. Let's keep reading, y'all. Drawing the firearm now. What happened? After threatening Massey, Grayson immediately draws his firearm and points it at her. She ducks and says, "I'm sorry," the video shows. What the experts say the gun is the ultimate escalation, Miller said. It cuts you off from other tools. Man, so right. They say it cuts you off from other tools and it's hard to turn back from, sometimes resulting in these fatalities. Oh my God, that is absolutely, you cannot put a percentage on how true that statement is. What it means by cutting you off from other tools is those non-lethals that I was talking about. When you have a full-blown pistol in there and you know the traveling time, once you squeeze that trigger and engage that hammer and it slides back and it gives you what you want, it's going to get there expeditiously. And you know what? If it hits the target, depending on the location, it's going to do damage. So what the experts are saying, the gun is the ultimate escalation? Absolutely. It cuts you off from other tools, such as the taser, such as the pepper spray. When have you known people that just say, oh, let me just holster my weapon and draw from my left side my taser? Y'all remember when the officers shot this suspect that was trying to flee from them, a black motorist? And she drew her pistol from her right side and squeezed. But to her account, she said she believed she was drawing a taser, which is a totally different color, from her left side. That was hosted on her left side. Anyway, that's not about her. It said in court, a document filed by the state last week, prosecutors noted Grayson could have drawn a taser located on his duty vest. He has shown a willingness to use lethal force despite the availability of non-deadly alternatives, y'all. When there's little to no threat to his bodily safety, prosecutors wrote. Now, when it comes to my people, right? Let me tell you like this, point blank. If you read what they say, with no threat to his bodily safety, it really depends on who you are. And look, I cannot tell anybody else how it is to be black each day from a kid up to this point. I can't. But I can explain to you that it's been serious amount of situations as to, when somebody's a certain height, certain one's type look, if you don't have that voice or you don't look docile, yeah, things can escalate very, very quickly. People can perceive you as a threat without you even opening your mouth. Yes, I've been there. They say despite the availability of non-deadly alternatives. When people assess you, They automatically say, you know what? No, I'm not feeling comfortable with using my taser. I'm not feeling comfortable with pepper spray. And motherfuckers look dangerous. He look crazy. And this not just tall people. It can be someone who is short stature, but still look like a killer. Still give you that aggressive nature by the way they talk. Let's keep it moving. Stepping towards her, all right? Stepping towards her. Let's go through it. What happened, both officers yelled at her to drop the effing pot. And Grayson takes 3 steps toward her as he tries to move around the kitchen counter, the video shows. What the experts say is the deputy should have stepped away from Massey and create distance from the pot of boiling water, the experts say. Campbell said the deputies were at a crossroads at this point. Oh, let's speak about the crossroads. You remember initially when the deputy stepped away because he didn't want to be close to hot water, but when he drew his weapon, he closed distance? How does that work? How does that work? She's in the exact same location that she was previously when you walked away. She's there in the same proximity. But you return to the proximity, weapons drawn, when she did not advance her position towards you. That's a fact. That is a fact. That is a fact. Officers across the country are called upon every day to make split-second decisions when faced with a threat. In the case, a subject holding a pot of scalding water, which certainly could have injured the deputies, he said. Injured. Not killed, K-I-L-L-E-D. Injured. So injury, we've been living long enough. We understand there's a recovery process. There's a healing management that we can go through with therapy and so forth, but yet we live to fight another day, as they say, right? But not so much when it comes to being on the front end of a firearm. Firearms are lethal for a reason. They do damage depending on what caliber and the placement of the shot. You know what I'm saying? They do damage. And we have a technology of weapons today that are absolutely accurate, nice to the touch, easy to fire, very little recoil. It says effective policing comes down to good judgment in highly stressful situations, he said. Although being doused with scalding water could warrant the use of deadly force by officers to stop a threat, in this video, we certainly don't see officers attempting alternative options, such as moving away and creating distance between themselves and Massey. Miller said when she comes across with the pot, Miller said when she comes across with the pot, rather than extend the distance between her and them, they close in, giving excited commands and raised voices. Facts. You know what I'm saying? The expert likened the scenario to an officer intentionally and unnecessarily putting himself in front of a moving vehicle and then justifying use of force because of fear of being struck. Are they not telling you some information that makes sense? Let's talk about the failing to provide medical care for this guy. That's Sean Grayson right there. I'm not going to go in on him based off what I believe he's went through and who he is as a person, how his spirit is, and probably previously people who suffered as a result of his poor decision making. Sean Grayson, a deputy at Sangamon County Sheriff, was charged with murder in the shooting death of Sonya Massey. Let's go through the what happened process, right? After shooting, Grayson failed to provide any medical care for Massey and was dismissive of efforts to do so. Grayson's partner said she's going to get a medical kit to help, but Grayson's responds, "No, she's done. You can go get it, but that's a headshot." Let her effing just, there's nothing we can do, man, he says. Let her effing. A person just say, let her effing bleed out and die. We don't care. And you know, I always go back to that the gas station shooting, where you had some friends in the car. They was doing a video, and rule number one, never. I mean, rule number one: treat every weapon as if it was loaded, and that's not for everybody that handles weapon, because they don't pick up a weapon for the same reasons. Some people believe it's a toy. We're talking about a real full blown. It was a video that was out back in the day where this female was in there with her friend, male friend, and one in the back, and she was on the video and she was playing around this, that, and the other, and picked up the guy's weapon. And the guy said, "Chill, chill, stop playing." And what she did was squeeze the trigger, not knowing it was around already in the head, and she shot him in the head, right on camera and everything. He leans over to his left and just starts to bleed out of his head. He survived. Point blank range, man. Point blank range. He survived the headshot. So the fact that Sean Grayson refused medical attention just because of the headshot is another malice type of action that he took upon himself to say, "Nah, man, look at her. Let her fucking bleed out. There's nothing we can do." That is a cold-hearted individual. He should never wear a badge again. Let me keep going though. After about 2 minutes, his partner grabs a towel and leans down to try to help Massey, and he knows she's still gasping a bit. She's still gasping, y'all. Massey is still with life, man. But I will say this: there's a certain amount of oxygen that can that your brain still has, even if you shot in the head, that deals with your blood and your oxygen levels. So you can possibly still be living with a headshot. Now, how are you going to be if you recover with the brain damage and tissue and everything? Who knows? But let me go on. He says partner grabs a towel and leans down to try to help Massey, and he knows she's still gasping a bit. Grayson later goes to his vehicle to get his own medical supplies, and when he gets back to the house, he is told there's nothing he can do for her. "All right, I'm not even going to waste my med stuff then," Grayson said. He said he's not going to waste his medical supplies. Wow. Okay. What the expert says: it's not clear whether faster medical aid might have helped Massey. Her condition after the shooting is heavily blurred in the video. But the deputy's actions and words show a lack of compassion, expert says. It may be perplexing to some readers, but an officer who employs deadly force actually has an obligation to immediately shift to rendering aid if the subject of their force no longer poses a threat. No longer poses a threat, y'all. So the reason why Sonya Massey is shot in the first place, because she said, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus," twice. So I guess her words, rebuking in the name of Jesus, basically forced an assumption of Sean Grayson to say, "Oh, she's going to cause us harm." Not only that, they drew down on her, both officers. Not one, both. Even his partner holds some type of liability for not standing up and using what he was taught in the force too. He should have said, "No, bro, what are you doing? Put that away. Man, we have so many other alternatives, bro. Put that away. What's wrong with you, man? Don't be quick." So no, he was on board with it. He was on board with it. He didn't try to, de-escalate. When you draw lethal force, I mean, you can make a decision and tell them, "Hey, man, what are you doing? Put that away. Holster your weapon." Anyway, it says, although we don't see on the third paragraph right here, Miller said, while he does not interfere with his partner's effort to follow procedure and render medical aid, Grayson discourages it and is dismissive of it, which may have not made any difference medically, but an indicator of passive contempt for procedure and lack of compassion, y'all. Lack of freaking compassion. That is unbelievable. He had a lack of compassion to get her any type of medical help, which is just unbelievable. It's almost like, what's going on with you? You know what I'm saying? What is going on with you? Um, let's take a look over here. They say, oh, no, I think this, it was, let me see. It was a point I wanted to go back to. Let me see if this is it. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Let me go over here. Let me stop sharing. I want to take you for a short little stroll over here to this particular article. It said, "Where's the humanity?" Reacting to the release of Sonya Massey's body cam footage. Okay. It said the video put out on Monday to the public involving Sonya Massey brought civil rights attorney Ben Crump back to the Springfield for press conference, and that including several of Massey's family members who has been retained by Massey's family attended Friday's funeral. Now, this article, I think it's the right one. Let me go down. I want to take you to the back end of why I say that was the outrage is justifiable on how they handled the post incident. The post. I just gave you the assessment of those, the experts and everything who viewed the footage and showed what could have done better, right? But I want to speak to you about the second part and when her family start to arrive on the scene. You remember initially that she contacted because they thought it was she thought it was a prowler outside her house. So therefore, when the situation happened, now that Sean Grayson has shot her, shot her in the head, didn't run the medical aid. What happens when a family arrives on the scene? Is the integrity in light of everything that happened and the actions that you took, your poor and disgraceful freaking decision making skills? What are you going to present to the family? Because you have proved to us, reading this article, you have proved to us that you have very limited compassion, right? For the line of work that you do, homie. So therefore, when the family comes up, have you had a time to just digress a little bit, think about it, decompress, and say, you know what? Let me do what's right. No, 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 no. Let me see, can I find it now? This is gonna trip you out. Real talk. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? And that's Sonya Massey. Rest in peace. Rest in peace to you, sister. Um, hold on. See, where are you at? Where are you? I had a specific piece that I wanted to talk about. Let me see. This is going to make you shake your head even more, man. Let's see. Okay, I found it. I found it. Okay, I found it. Let me Okay. If you're in the building, hit the like button for me. Okay. What? What? Hold on for a second, man. Okay, here we go. Check this out, y'all. Let me enlarge this. All right. I need to find my starting point right quick. Okay, the video shows lead up and aftermath. Let's talk about the aftermath right quick. They say Grayson did not activate his body camera until after he fatally shot Massey, according to the charging documents. The other deputy had activated his body camera when he first arrived. So Grayson didn't have his body cam activated until after, right? According to the footage from the other deputy's body cam, the incident began with the deputies walking around Massey's yard and finding a vehicle with broken windows. Then they knocked on the door and speak with her, and she struggles to understand and answer some questions about the vehicle and about herself. All right. Immediately after the shooting, right here, Grayson telling his partner Massey would not need medical help. Immediately after the shooting, the video records Grayson telling his partner Massey would not need medical help. The other deputy says she's going to. The other deputy says he's going to get a medical kit to help, but Grayson responds, "No, she's done. You can get it, but that's a headshot." Okay, we talked about that. We talked about, all right, I'm not going to waste my medical stuff then. All right. Now this is where it becomes and dives into a whole nother pool of outrage. Next, Grayson leaves the house and speaks to a group of law enforcement officers outside. "Yeah, I'm good. This effing bitch is crazy," he says, according to the footage. In the news conference Monday, along with members of her family, Crump said Massey had mental challenges but was not aggressive towards the deputies. She needed a helping hand, he said. She didn't need a bullet to the face. That's fact. And that is her father. You know what I'm saying? Of course, any father would feel some type of way about their child being deceased or unalived the way she was, and being that he wasn't there to help. You know how people think in hindsight, right? It said Massey father James Wilburn said he initially received conflicting information from law enforcement. Now, people, I cannot say that this is something that doesn't happen. This just doesn't have to do with black, but we dealing with a black woman in this particular case who lost her life. We have heard several times over, and the list is too long to know when, you know, in the aftermath of it all, is the integrity of the officer going to hold up and put the right information to assist with the investigation the right way, especially if it puts them in a predicament of liability, dereliction of duty, negligence. Okay, this where this situation even gets worse, y'all. Look, I was under the impression that a prowler had broken in and killed my baby. Never did they say that it was a deputy involved shooting until my brother read it on the internet. What? They didn't even tell them that how the shooting happened? That's sad, bro. That's just sad, man. That's sad. They don't even know how their family member was shot. They thought a prowler. We're talking about protecting the shield, huh? No integrity from nobody. They probably say, "Oh my God," in light of what happened. No. Let's not think about the Breonna Taylors and Sonya Blands and every other black shooting victim that's been out there, right? George Floyd and all of them. It shouldn't be thought about in hindsight. It should be you, your integrity, and to do what's right. Period. As you know, a person that's employed in this line of work, and when you go out here and pretty much have to make those life or death decisions. If you're saying shooting somebody in their fucking face and the fucking bitch was crazy, you don't care, dog. You a Rambo type dude. You supposed to be behind bars long time ago. It said we were led to believe that the intruder, someone from the neighborhood, may have killed her. We were absolutely shocked to find out that it was a deputy who shot her. It say you're used to having to talk with boys, but now I guess we have to talk about our girls, their interaction with police. Sonya was a daddy's girl. She never ended a conversation, whether by text or telephone or in person, without saying, "Daddy, I love you." And that's the last message I have from my daughter that saved on my voicemail was, "Daddy, I love you," said. Crump told, it's so senseless. I mean, it's disturbing. This video is reminiscent in the last presidential cycle in 2020 when George Floyd video, encouraged our community to act. I'm not even going to get into that because, I'm not even going to get into that. Because it just seems like we have these incidents where a black is wrongfully killed, and this should have absolutely nothing to do with the presidential campaign, nor should we be up here believing that any of the candidates should highlight this moment when they just told you George Floyd's situation happened back then, but yet he goes in there, and this has nothing to do with George Floyd influencing his actions. He goes in there and say, "I'll shoot you in the effing face. I may not have my knee on your freaking neck. I just put this bullet in your head." That's pretty much what he said. I just put the bullet in your head. I don't have to worry about wasting my time getting close to you because I'm scared of boiling water. So he can create distance initially, but he closed distance when his firearm is drawn. So therefore, the hot water is still in the proximity for which you was at, but now you got a weapon. Before you walked away with your weapon, you still had it in your possession. But when she said, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus," you closing distance towards the same boiling pot of water that was in the proximity, along with the same human being that you freaking threatened. Just because she said, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus." Crazy. The boiling water didn't have legs. It was still right there in your possession. But now you feel better that you done drew down on her. And it's a lot of things that's going to come out in court that the prosecutor is going to talk about, because water is water, right? Boiling water, it just heightens the awareness because of the temperature, all right? But the person that you initially said, "You do it, I'll shoot you in the effing face," is still right there in front of you with the boiling water right there. So if you thought she was a threat when you was further distance, she still was a threat when you closed the distance. But yet your premise for freaking moving away because you didn't want to get hit with hot water. So the wild part about this is that she couldn't have been a threat to the officer that was scared of hot water, because now he had his weapon drawn, and she wasn't even in a position to put him in harm's way. But the hot water and the victim was still right there in the same proximity initially before he chose to advance closer to her with his weapon drawn to say, "I'll shoot you in the effing face now." Not, "Oh, let me move away because you're not going to, hit me with no hot water." But the hot water was still there when you advanced with your weapon drawn. The close with, seek, and destroy. But she wasn't giving you that type of damn energy that she was aggressive and dangerous. Anyway, they did have a march. This is like, I don't know. I do remember when the George Floyd situation, and protests did take to the streets, that's when it was a lot more unity going on in 2020. Real talk. It was a lot more unity going on. You had black, white, Mexican. It didn't matter. It was a lot of people out there protesting. And I want to think a lot of that union was due to the pandemic. A lot of people was out of work, and a lot of people was at home, and they was situated in front of the television, and they said, okay, let's get out and go down here to the protest, because down here in Atlanta, George Floyd, he didn't die down here in the A. But these streets was filled with freaking protesters. I went down there to cover it and took mad pictures of something in history, you know? But now that people are trying to make a living with the economy and everything else is going on, you're not seeing too many people hit to the streets like it did in the pandemic. You know, the pandemic was a gift and a curse, y'all, because what it did was it allowed us to slow down due to the virus. But yet in the process of slowing down, you saw more and more people congregated together of different races, right? And for whatever reasons they was congregated out there, we seen it for the first time in a long time. People was out there in the streets, whether it was protesting, where it was looting, where it was freaking sending a message, you know what I'm saying, about this, that, and the other. They was out there, y'all. We was out there together. You know what I'm saying? Talking about George Floyd, we was out there. I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying that's the last time something like this is going to happen, because this case right here is horrific. And then for the family in the aftermath of it all, they didn't even know a deputy sheriff had shot their family member. They didn't even let them know because they wanted to make it up out of there without protests and it turning real violent or whatever the case. But still, it was absolutely wrong. Integrity wise, administratively, that shit was absolutely wrong for them not to inform the family. And what happened to communication? Y'all couldn't have got on there and they said, okay, where was the chief? Where was the sergeant? Where was something? Say, hey, let me come over there and let me inform the family that it was one of us. They thought a prowler had came in and shot their daughter. That's wrong. That's a whole lot of wrong in that, right? Whole lot of wrong. Whole lot of wrong. For real. It's a whole lot of wrong in that right there, y'all. I can't say it enough. In hindsight, when you don't when you don't inform the family about the death, on being that, I wanted to tell them it's still an ongoing investigation. I wanted they lay that down. Or it's still an ongoing investigation. We sorry to inform you, it's still an ongoing investigation. They did not tell them that an officer did it. And then they find out on the news that that's exactly what happened. Now they're in absolute disbelief that they were speaking to these officers that was on the grounds of their property, and they didn't give them any indication that it was an officer shooting. Imagine that. No indication whatsoever that they were culpable of their relative lying dead in the kitchen with a gunshot to the head. Bad. Shout out to Toby Bartlett, Mr. International on deck. Salute to you, brother. I'm going to try to skim to these. Shout out to Jay on deck. What's good? Yeah, it's always that first interaction that sets the template. Well, the first interaction, if I'm saying it, is the fact that the body cam of freaking one officer was on, and the body cam of one who was actually the subject, the officer, the officer that was arrested, his body cam wasn't even on. Why was that? You have a procedure that you go through, and then also with all those other agencies that he was employed with, from 2020 to 2024, haven't even been a complete 4 years, because we're talking about November 2020 and we haven't reached November 2024 yet. So this is a not just negligence on the officer being able to wear that badge and swore in and serve his community. It's the fact that he had other incidents or situations that whoever hired him, the hiring authority in Sagamon, they knew about this and they chose to overlook it. It was probably some type of networking or whatever. They chose to overlook it, y'all. Sellers on deck. What's good? I don't know what you mean. She woke up that demon inside of her because you're talking about the demon inside of her. I mean, she said, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus." Maybe she felt like the demon was in front of her and not inside of her. I don't know. Like if a demon's inside of you, they're gonna have control. So if the demon was the one that was pushing the buttons, why didn't she advance with the hot water then? Why wasn't she out of her mind when they actually entered the house? Because initially conversation was out on the porch. So if the demon was inside of her, why does the demon care about the host? It's not there for good reasoning. You know what I'm saying? Like if she's rebuking the demon, just all of a sudden she's bucking the system. I'm serious. When you get in all this religious stuff with me, it's just my thought process it's gonna go where it goes. And I just feel like, you talking about demons and all that other shit, like, why would a demon be nice to law enforcement? If the demon don't care about the host, why would he allow the host to be so nice and when they ask her about you having a mental crisis and say, yes, I'm all right, I took my medicine? Why wouldn't the demon say, okay, let me test my skills out. Let me test my skills out. Yeah. Why did he care about the host? A demon is a demon. They can go from one host to the other. Why he care about the host? My brother, as a toddler, pulled a boiling kettle down over his back and scolded him. He went into shock. And if he hadn't been for our neighbor was a nurse and gave him CPR, he'd have died. Wow. Dang. It's good to know he lived, man. For real. Seriously. Because that hot water, it messes with your neurological system in such a different way when it comes to shock. Shock is different, man. Real talk. Blessings to y'all, man. Shout out to Bruce Gas, Boxing Jazz, and more. I'm just going to call you that, Bruce. Salute to you, OG. After he shot her, that demon was still saying, drop the pot. She didn't have the pot in her hand. Um, of course, when you talk about situations like this, you're going to have stupidity. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have stupidity. But it's nothing like knowing that soccer season is in full effect to get some penalty kicks out the way. Yeah. I don't know what Juan was talking about. But he was over here trolling. Bug gonna stop Canelo in the building. What's good? For the B2 people making excuses for that dirty cop, even after they said it was unjustified. Please don't speak to me anymore. I have no respect for you. Somebody actually saying it was justified. See, that just goes to show you that they're trying to say the skin is more dangerous than the human being that's wearing it. You know what I'm saying? Now it's always you're trying to tell me the skin is a what's the word a an imposing factor every time rather than someone making conscious decision wearing a badge to protect. So you have to allow anybody, regardless of the skin color, to provide you with a legitimate reason, a sustainable reason as to why your action is the way they are. You just can't continue we go through to this day. A lot of black men go through where you hear people say, "Oh, I fell for my life. I fell for my life. Oh my God, he's from what? He had on a jacket and he just looked at me. He was menacing." Come on, bro. Come on. You can't justify the cops' action. The law enforcement action. You can't justify that. His decision was malicious. And the same water, like I said, he was scared of before. He actually advanced his position to get closer to the Sonya Massey, when both her and the same pot of water that elevated his temperature, elevated his aggressiveness in the first place, had him no freaking optimism, no apprehension, no freaking doubt. No fright, no fear when his weapon was drawn to advance and close the distance on the same two entities that supposedly caused him to walk away. And then when he got outside, he said, "The fucking bitch is crazy." No, you're the crazy one. You're the crazy one. They didn't anything. She wasn't a threat. Hands were up, kneeling. Yeah, for real. For real. And look, if you see people in here on the fake accounts, you know what I'm saying, trying to deflect from the actual content that's being spoken on, don't let it get you off talking about the content. That's what they're here for. They're here to just talk some BS and to get people to talk about them. It happens all the time when you're talking about racially involved actions when it comes to anything. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to anything in life, people gonna come in here and try to play around. Shout out to Jessica the Queen on deck. Salute to you. It made the family that she killed herself, not my words, but the words of her father. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, they made the family think she killed herself. Yeah, it was bad. All the thoughts that goes through you, like when the family, yeah, man. Yeah. Not my words, but the words of her father and son. Yeah, man. That's just bad. Not even to inform the family. They don't, I don't know how they do it over there in Illinois. That's just bad. It's pockets of poor decision making and actions like that all around. But we're talking about this specific situation. The fact that this man had a record the way he did with multiple agencies, right? Multiple agencies prior to coming over there to work. Unbelievable. Samar Warren on deck. I see you. What's good? What's good? Justice for Sonya, we need to stop qualified immunity. We need to have better training for officers. We also need to train officers to use non-lethal remedies. This was completely outrageous. I agree, it is outrageous. Unjustifiable. Like I said before, if you separated yourself from the threat without your weapon drawn, why did you draw it and advance more closer to the threat if you had a low tolerance than you did before? Were you there to de-escalate or escalate? Just like the expert said that you was there to escalate the situation to get the result that you wanted. You got it. You got it. You got the results that you wanted, period. You got it. There's no questions about it. Told without a doubt, I hate using the term black and African American because it's a negative connotation for my ethnicity, but it's the fear of who we can become. And already, why is this happening? Well, I consider myself black American. Even though I may have an in my ancestry, it's not about me at this point in time. But I'm just saying the Africans that I knew that ran into in the military, they was worse than the whites when it came to black Americans. They'll tell you about freckles on your face. They'll tell you ain't, from where I'm from and all that. But that's not about them. That's a whole different situation. All I'm saying is, yes, I still, within my presence here in this country, still African American, black American, whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? We black. Period. You can be from any other country and without opening your mouth, they can consider you to be black. You can be rich and you can be dressed a certain way, you still be considered black. It don't matter if you dressed up, depending on where you at, they still gonna see that shade of skin. That shade of skin should not override someone's freaking decision making when it comes to a badge or protecting someone. In the military, it doesn't. I guarantee you that. In the military, yeah, I'm not saying prejudice don't exist, but they hold you accountable. Oh, you should have known better. Shout out to the MACKMOBB. The Mac mob is on deck. What's good with it, B Mac? He said, what's good? W says, what's good? Salute. Sonya Massey was murdered. This is not a case of police training. Yeah, she was murdered. Totally agree with that. She was murdered. It is a officer who chose to basically ignore the training that he had. Why? Because that's just like me being in the military, let's say 10 years. I should know better about certain situations to handle outside on my liberty as an E1, E2. If I've been in 10 years, I'm going to be probably an E5, E6. You know what I'm saying? And therefore, I'm supposed to have experience. This man had multiple agencies on his record that he worked for before. So that means he's been in situations like this, and no telling. It hasn't came out yet, but it's no telling how many people of color that potentially found themselves in a real bad situation because of him at other agencies. It's a reason why he resigned. It's gonna come out. It's gonna come out in the wash. It's gonna come out in the wash. Guarantee it. Guarantee it, man. Well, I just wanted to speak on this, you know what I'm saying? Because, the scenario was the worst. You know what I'm saying? It's not the worst ever, but the scenario itself was just an individual who was provided several opportunities for whatever reason. Like, for whatever reason, you can, since 2020, you work with several other agencies. Resign. They let this guy go on, continue to wear the badge until now. It's a reflection of the very last agency he had ever worked for in his life, because they knew about his checkered history. They knew about his deficiencies. They knew about all this, and they allowed that man to still come put that badge on and swear in. They knew about it. And just the way he was talking to people, the way he was using the F word, I shoot you in the F. Who says that? I shoot you in your effing face. You an officer. You're talking about a person who said they took their medication. You say, oh, I'll shoot you. She said, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. Jesus and rebuke was in the same thing. You just ignored Jesus. Jesus couldn't have taken over. You weren't a religious person. You don't pray before you go out to work in the line of duty, or you consider yourself a Rambo. Come on, how does that work? But anyway, hey, shout out to the hottest chat in the MFN game, man. Y'all continue to hold it down, real talk. And we'll continue to keep a close eye. You know what I'm saying? To the family of Sonya Massey, blessings, condolences go out. It's definitely a tragic situation. A tragic situation. He's just one of many who's been in here with a badge, and he wanted to be Rambo. Just the way he went out there and told his partners, fucking bitch was crazy. That's how he talks to his girl. I don't know if he got family, but is that how you talk to your girl? You know what I'm saying? You want to come off as some hard-nosed, cop up here saying, hey, I don't take no shit from nobody. And then to have a partner up there draw his weapon down too, both of y'all was wrong. Your partner should be put on desk duty for a while too. Real talk. He could have de-escalated this. He could have used those options, those alternatives that they was talking about. But salute to y'all. Y'all continue to hold it down. Continue to support. I appreciate you. Hit the like on your way out. Peace.